All Hallows Eve has become a night of frolic, where children wear costumes and run amok. Amok.
A teenage boy named Max and his little sister move to Salem, where he struggles to fit in before awakening a trio of diabolical witches who were executed in the 17th century. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, tonight on Extras and Epilogues, we are talking about the Halloween classic, Friday the 13th, Part 4. Wait, no, I got my weeks wrong. Hold on. No, that's the same
No,
plot.
you're on the right week.
That's the same
you're
plot.
on the right week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Shannon Young. I'm going to be your host tonight. With me, of course, I have our other host for the evening, Mr. Hunter Hendricks.
Did you say this is Extras and Epilogues?
I did.
I'll say it now, just in case. Okay, I missed it.
We'll say it again.
I was wondering. I was like, wait, did we jump right past it?
All right, you know what? We're going to do something. It's Halloween week. All right, rewind for just a second. You intro the show and then intro me. You do what I did.
Oh, okay. All right. Hang on, I can clear my throat. Okay. A teenage boy named Max and his little sister move to Salem, where he struggles to fit in before awakening a trio of diabolical witches who were executed in the 17th century. All this and more from the classic Disney's Hocus Pocus, released originally in 1993, tonight on this Halloween episode of Extras and Epilogues. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Hunter Hendricks as the box office opens tonight. With me is my co-host, as always, Mr. Shannon Young.
Hey.
And, of course, our special guest for the night, our Disney specialist. Who else would we bring on to talk about Hocus Pocus but Lindsey Wolfgall?
Can I offer you the chocolate-covered finger of a man named Clark?
Oh, it's candy. Why would he give us candy? Why would Master give us candy, Lindsey?
And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we will now, Hunter and I will take our leave. The next hour, Lindsay's going to ramble incoherently about Hocus Pocus. We are unnecessary in this show.
Why does it have to be incoherent rambling?
Really
Can't
quick.
it be coherent occasionally?
Really quick, we got to plug a sponsor real quick. Podzilla 1985, this Halloween edition of Extra and Epilogues, is proudly presented to you by the Freak Phone. That's 1-900-490-FREAK. Call Freddy Freaker right now. $2 a call. Hunter, how much is that call one more time?
It's only $2 a call, and you can hear what's scamming from New York to L.A. That's coast to coast.
Find out what's happening and what's not. That's on the Freak Phone. Ladies and gentlemen, give it a call right now. 1-900-490-FREAK. Tell them Extras and Epilogues sent you. Important to note, that phone does not work.
No, there's no way it still works. I don't know that it worked in the first place. I don't know that you could ever get anybody on that phone.
According to this, not to take away too much from the show, the Freak Phone was in service from 1988 to 1995. 7 years.
Wow.
You could talk to Freddy Freaker. Yeah.
Freddy Freaker was 7 years old. Well, that implies that he was born on the Freak Phone. That doesn't... I don't like that.
Here's the part that
I don't like that at all.
Here's the part that bothers me. On top of all the other things that bother me. No known accessible recordings of the Freddy Freaker phone line exist. Though physical recordings supposedly exist, none have ever been released online, and it is considered lost media. So the only thing they have is the commercial, which is real strange. Lost media is
very strange.
I for the record, I love lost media. I think this is
so fascinating.
Yeah. It's not something I talk about a lot, but I love lost media. I love when they unearth lost media. Lindsay, you remember a couple years ago when they unearthed the original Sailor Moon pitch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Well, and
stuff.
the fact that they finally found the actual pilot now, in its entirety.
Yeah, it's out there for watch. Although we don't recommend it. So
No, we don't.
last week on the
Unless
show.
you were watching the whole documentary that I forget what her name is, but there's a whole documentary on YouTube that this girl did her research and finally got a hold of it, and it's a very, very interesting watch, and she does a good deep dive on the whole thing.
Could you please focus on what we're here to talk about?
No.
Gotta stay on target.
Stay on target.
For what it's worth, I not only have I seen this movie a bunch, but I did actually just finish watching it now maybe 30 minutes ago. Sarah and I sat down and watched it.
I haven't rewatched it yet for this season.
I'm glad it's fresh in your mind, because I did not rewatch it. I remember next to nothing about it, but I'll fake it like I always do in bed. So, Talking about Hocus Pocus, it is a Christmas classic released on July 16th, 1993, right in the heart of the Halloween season. Directed.
Yeah, so
that surprises
so
me
hang
that
on,
it was a summer release. Like,
so
that
let's talk
messes
about
with
that
me just a
because
little.
Okay.
it's actually it's down there in the notes. There's a little more trivia there than for this one than there are for some of the others.
Yeah.
So Disney dropped this movie in July in 1993 specifically because kids were on summer break from
Right.
school. And so the idea was that they would be more apt to go to the movies, not just once, but multiple times to see it, which is all well and good, but it is decidedly a Halloween movie. I mean, there's nothing about this movie that isn't Halloween themed.
Right.
Here's the other thing that people don't take into account, though. This is also the same year that Disney released The Nightmare Before Christmas. And they did that much closer to Halloween.
Halloween,
which is
yeah.
crazy because
Right.
that is a Christmas film.
Well, it's both, yes.
Oh.
So importantly, I think they probably knew which one was worth banking on more. And not that this movie wasn't going to be good, but it was pretty clear of the two which one was going to draw in more attention overall. And so, competing with your own
And
movie
this-
at Halloween.
That was a year that they didn't release an animated film because Lion King didn't drop till 94
Right.
What's
and Aladdin was 92.
shocking to me, more so, is that they never did a sequel to The Nightmare Before Christmas. Considering how Disney likes to whore out their franchises.
There's a book. There's a book that follows
lots of
Sally
books.
and her stuff, and it's really good.
Well, there's also
I
a video
wonder,
game.
too-
There's a video game that serves as the sequel, which brings back the actors from the movie. Except for the fact, I love this little trivia, and I know we're not talking about Nightmare Before Christmas tonight, but I have to say,
That'll come later.
Chris Sarandon reprises his role as Jack Skellington. I love Chris Sarandon; he's one of my favorite actors. But Danny Elfman, I believe, was the singer in the first movie, right? He did the songs.
Yes.
He did not
Originally,
return.
he was going to do all of it, but he just ended up doing the singing.
Well, that's the funny part is he did not return for the singing, so Chris Sarandon actually sings the parts in the game, and you understand why they went with Danny Elfman.
That happened in The Lion King as well, if I remember correctly. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, not a singer, and I'm trying to think of the kid's name now who sang for young Simba.
I have no idea.
The guys over at Pod Meets World had him on, and so Disney ran into that a lot. Well, I mean, the same thing happened in Aladdin. What was his name? Scott Wingert was the Aladdin voice actor,
He
but
did not
he
do the
wasn't.
singing, no.
He wasn't
Right.
the singer. Yeah, it was a totally different guy.
Well, even in The Lion King, they had Jim Cummings replace Jeremy Irons for one of the songs because his voice had gone out from singing it.
It's a splicing. I've watched an interview with Jim Cummings, and he's like, it's a splicing between the two. But
I got this.
He did step in though.
I have an issue right now where if I close my mouth, my left ear is muffled to the point I can't hear from it. But if I open my mouth, it's perfectly fine. I don't understand it. I get it every so often. Anyway, let's talk about Hocus Pocus.
You know who did sing their own songs? Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker.
Well, that's because Sarah Jessica Parker is one of the best people of all time, and in this movie specifically was so adorable that I'll get to it in a second. Let me get through
I love her in this movie.
Let me get through some facts real quick. Released July 16th, 1993, right in the heart of the Christmas season. Directed by Kenny Omega. I didn't even know he was alive around at the time. Was it? Who is it? I'm sorry.
Alive at the time.
I'm sorry.
Kenny Ortega. Kenny Ortega actually did a handful of other things, if I remember correctly. He was, he's handled a bunch of other Disney direct stuff. So High School Musical, that's all been him. The original, all the way through a bunch of the others. The Descendants stuff, that's all been him. I don't know if he came back for the sequel to this or not, but yeah, he did Newsies. He directed Newsies way back when.
I like Newsies.
Like
that was
long
one of my
before all
favorites.
this other stuff. Yeah, so this has kind of been his bread and butter in Hollywood.
So the movie basically revolves around a boy named Max and his little sister. The boy played by
Omri Katz.
Yep, and the sister played by Thor Birch in one of her first roles.
Omri Katz just named like he just was born by the 90s itself. Like he was birthed from the concept of the 90s.
His middle name was Rad. If that tells you
his actual name or is that his actor name?
Now that I don't know. I've never looked that closely into it. I didn't even end up listing him. Usually I'll list like 3 or 4 primary people for the cast. Obviously for this, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker. Yeah,
I'm
Kathy Najimy,
surprised.
and then Thora Birch.
I'm surprised you picked Thora Birch over him. I feel like he was a bigger part of the movie.
He's a bigger part of the movie, but he's not. He doesn't end up becoming as big a deal. And frankly,
that's true.
Sarah and I were watching it again just a little bit earlier, and from the scene she shows up, Thora Birch, who is 8 years old, is acting circles around every other youth actor.
She was an annoying little shit in the film, but she did a damn good job.
Well,
she's, believe it or not, she's less annoying than you remember.
No,
we were watching it, and it's like, I think that the boy, that Max, is far more frustrating than she is. He's got an anger issue, like he's kicking stuff, he's whiny all the time.
Well, Thora Birch
at least makes sense to be upset.
I think important to mention that Thora Birch comes from acting. Her parents were both actors, Carol Connors and Jack Birch, pornographic actors though they were, starring in the film Deep Throat. It's something. It's still something.
You know who you could have had instead of Omri Katz, Lindsay, is Leo DiCaprio.
Leo DiCap. Yeah.
Yep. He auditioned for the. I don't know if he ever actually auditioned for it. I know that he was either offered the role or he was up for it in some way, and he turned it down. Not necessarily to do What's Eating Gilbert Grape, but he was already doing What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and the schedules didn't line up. You could have had Leo.
He could have been dating Thora Birch. The ages match up. It would have been.
No, so you want to talk dating? Omri Katz at this time. Now, this is all according to you, Shannon. You know Danielle Harris.
Yeah, of course.
A very common screen queen nowadays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Danielle Harris did a lot of acting back at that time as well for Disney occasionally, and that whole little group, along with like the kids that were on Boy Meets World and Home Improvement, they were all kind of dating each other off and on. According to Danielle Harris herself, she and Omri Katz were dating during this movie and broke up because he cheated on her with Vanessa Shaw, who plays Allison. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to mention that Vanessa Shaw was also in the film. She's a fairly well-known actress, and she did a good job, too. I think everybody did a good job except for Johnny Katz or whatever his name was.
Johnny Katz. Okay.
Johnny Katz.
I gotta go do a thing real quick. Keep talking.
While he's doing that, 96 minutes of fun right there on the Disney Channel. Budget versus box office. All of this provided by the great Hunter Hendricks, by the way. Once again, thank you.
I do what I can.
$28 million budget versus a $47 million box office. So it did make its money back. Critical reception was kind of chilly at the time of release. 40% positive critic reviews that support 4.8 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes. 43 out of 100 on Metacritic. Mixed or average, and a cinema score of B+. Despite the fact, it's kind of like The Thing, although The Thing was much more hated when it came out originally, but it is turned into a cult classic. So everyone knows Hocus Pocus. Everyone has seen it, I think, at this point. Most people have seen the sequel.
It's the theatrical release that didn't do it any favors. It didn't do a thing in the box office. It has been, like you said, it's almost literally the definition of a cult classic. The original release, nothing. But then once it hit Disney Channel and home release
and stuff,
all the time.
On TV and on video is when I saw it, because I didn't get really excited about seeing this film until it was featured on a show that went behind the scenes on like Movie Magic that my dad and I watched weekly. And there was an episode where they were almost entirely focused on the special effects that they did in this film. And that's what got me excited. And I'm like, okay, I want to go rent this.
I didn't know anything about this film per se. I think I saw it when I was younger. I didn't really watch it again until Lindsey came into my life. All I remember about it was that I thought Sarah Jessica Parker was the cutest girl in the world in this film. Like, and this is, I want to lead this off with an apology to Sarah Jessica Parker, because so often in my life I refer to her as a type of horse face and mocked the horse-like appearance of her. That's unfair. And I'm being serious. That's unfair. She's a lovely woman. She's a great actress. There was stupid jokes. It was a stupid person making the jokes. I think she is one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood. And in this movie specifically, you talk about crush the crush button. I don't think there was a girl that I had more of a crush on in just the small scenes that I saw from her growing up, including the amok part. That was probably like... yeah, that to me, that was it, man. That was it. I would have put a poster of that on my wall if I could have. I love Sarah Jessica Parker.
As much as I love that bit, for whatever reason, for me, it's always when they figure out that the road is not a black river, 'tis firm. And she just jumps on it.
When they just like shove her and she screams.
Yeah.
This
She's
movie,
always doing that. Like 4 or 5 times throughout the movie, something will happen and she just screams bloody murder.
The film is pretty much, even though the story is kind of focused on Max and his little sister and the Vanessa Shaw character. It's led by the trio of Bette Midler, Kathy, and Jimmy.
There's a reason.
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah. There's a reason that they're on the cover, they're on the poster. When they made a sequel, they're the ones they brought back,
right?
Like,
along with the great
the
Sam
other
Richardson,
characters.
Which was
famous.
famous.
Yeah. The other characters are mostly ancillary. Something I didn't put on the notes, but Thora Birch apparently was going to come back, and then had a scheduling conflict and couldn't do it. Couldn't be there for the filming. But other than that, I don't think there was any real concern.
Well, similarly, the guy that played Max was also going to come back, but he could not get the evening off from Subway.
Right.
So
he didn't have the bus fare to make it there.
He couldn't afford the trip.
Get that done.
My hope is that he's a big fan of this show randomly, and he's listening to us just dog him.
These motherfuckers.
Look, hey, dude, if you're listening, it could be worse. You could have been in Dog Soldiers. So,
ouch.
The only movie on this list that got all thumbs down, like, bad. Anyway, Lindsay. What we normally do on the show, as you remember, is we'll talk a little bit about our feelings on it, give it some history. I have nothing to add to this because this is not one of my all-time favorites. I do like it, but I know you are very fond of it. So if you would please be so kind as to kind of give us a little bit of your history with it and what you liked about the film, what it means to you, that kind of thing.
Well, like I said, I originally got interested in it from that side television show that was showing the special effects, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool looking. Other than that, like, I've always enjoyed movies that Bette Midler are in. Like, that's just coming down from my mom, and especially anything that she had done with like Disney in that area. Like, she voiced one of the dogs in Oliver and Company, Down and Out in Beverly Hills. Like, there's a whole bunch of different ones that she was doing projects with Disney at that time. And so yeah, I was brought in on that end of it for the most part. But I'm also not someone that ever watched scary things at Halloween when I was younger. It was all like, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and Garfield's Halloween, and like the little kitty non-scary stuff. So like, this was something extra I could watch at Halloween again. It's just something fun. And I don't know. I liked the story. I like all the colors. I'm that weirdo that likes picking out the different pop culture costumes in the backgrounds. And it was just always a Halloween favorite.
I'm looking through the cast list here, and a couple memories are coming back to me about the film.
I will say, as soon as you pointed out Kathy in there, and then saying that she voices Peggy Hill, anytime I watch this now, I just hear Peggy.
Oh yeah,
like the tone's not completely there, but that's all I hear.
Well, I have a couple things that are positive and a couple things that are negative. One, the negative, I am now remembering the two bully characters in the movie and how irritating they are.
Oh, Jay and Ice. Ice. He's Ice.
He's
Jay
Ice.
Hollywood.
Oh boy, do I hate that. I hate that. Also, Hunter, for you, I don't know if you realize this, but Charles Rocket is in the film. As
have it in the notes.
Dad. Oh,
yeah,
did you?
Yeah. So there's a great little bit of irony. Charles Rocket plays Max's dad, Dave, and at one point in time, early on, when Max comes home, actually right after he first interacts with the bullies, and he's pissed off because they took his shoes. He's going upstairs, and I forget exactly what he says, but he says. Yeah, he says damn or hell or something, because they've moved, and the dad looks up the steps and says, "Watch your language." Now, Shannon, you and I both know why that would be ironic coming from Charles Rocket, considering how he got himself fired from Saturday Night Live.
Yes. Do yourself a favor. Do not look up Charles Rocket on Wikipedia, because it does not have a good ending.
It's bad news, but there's a great clip of when he got let go from SNL. If you watch it, they had that week done a parody of the Who Shot JR bit from Dallas. Yep. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the episode, somebody asks him how he feels about getting shot, and he looks up and he goes, "I want to know who fucking did it," or who the fuck did it, or something like that. And that was it. Yeah. No more Charles Rocket on SNL.
In the same way that, Jenny Slate got fired not too long after she uttered the F word. Yeah, SNL. But yet, Colin Jost can say the N-word all the time. Makes no sense. Makes no sense.
You were going to get him killed.
My favorite part about this film, other than Sarah Jessica Parker, Lindsay, obviously, you know the answer to this. Probably not.
Billy Bones?
That's right.
You mean Billy Butcherson?
Billy Butcherson. That's
whatever.
my fault.
Yeah.
No, that's my fault.
Zombie Man.
I keep calling him Billy Bones, and I don't know why.
I like the dance with the song number, and when they're in the school and they get locked in, and then they come back out saying "I want my book" and going through the French lesson because it's stupid and it just makes me giggle.
I just any opportunity I have to talk about Doug Jones, because Doug Jones is a treasure.
It's probably also why you want to call him Billy Bones, because then it rhymes. Because it's Doug Jones, he plays Billy Bones.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Probably.
He also came back for the sequel, if I remember correctly.
Just like when he slices his throat and just says "bitch" at Bette Midler.
something I didn't add to the notes there, but so that bit when he opens up the stitches on his mouth, you know,
he
there's
had
a moth
the bugs
that
in
flies
his
out.
mouth. Mm-hmm.
Yep. He had moths in there. They had a moth trainer. They had a little mesh cup that goes like in his mouth and keeps him from getting down on his throat. And they had a literal moth trainer with tweezers who would put them in. He would close his mouth. They'd make it look, sewn up or whatever. And then as soon as he opened it up, they would flutter out.
That reminds me of another fantastic horror film, Candyman, when Tony Todd.
Oh, the bees.
The bees. He had, those were real bees. He had them in his mouth. And oh my God. Talk about the sacrifice for the art, man. Doug Jones.
Yeah.
I just mentioned him on our 31 Things to Watch in October because Doug Jones was in an episode of Fear Itself, Skin and Bones. Maybe that's why I keep calling him Billy Bones. He was in Skin and Bones. His body shape and his look lends himself well to like the really weird creatures in Hollywood. Yeah. And this movie's no different. He played a zombie, Billy Butcherson. Really, really good. It's a good movie. It's a good film. I got nothing bad to say about this movie. I do have bad stuff to say about Ice and Jay, but
yeah.
I distinctly remember. For me, this movie is inextricably tied to this time of year at school, because this was one of those things where if you had the off day before fall break, or when we were still young enough. So this comes out in '93, which means what? It's on VHS by '94 at the latest. I'm like 9. I'm 9 or 10. So yeah, through a lot of my late elementary, early, middle school years. I mean, this was something that just came up a lot then. Then as you get older, you remember, I watched that thing when I was a kid, so it's on Disney Channel around Halloween, and you sit down and watch it. A lot of it is nostalgia. Yeah, going back and watching it, I can say pretty explicitly, like, it's not great from a structural standpoint or anything like that. It's got its issues.
It doesn't have to be.
It's enjoyable, though.
It doesn't have to be. It's fun to watch. It's got a constantly moving plot. It doesn't really ever slow down. Somebody who I feel like never gets enough mention here is Jason Marsden. Jason Marsden is the voice of Binks. Yeah, so importantly, he's not the actor who plays him when he's human. But then weirdly... Well, he does the voice of the cat, and then at the end, when Binks' ghost shows up, that's Marsden. They ADR'd the voice in. So the guy didn't even get to use his own voice there. If you watch, you can tell it doesn't quite match up, because at that point, you have associated Binks' voice with Marsden so much that it wouldn't work otherwise. But Jason Marsden is a guy who, again, as a big fan of Boy Meets World, he was on that show for a while. They've talked about it on Pod Meets World. They've had him on there from time to time.
He was huge in the 90s. I'm pretty sure he was on Step by Step.
He was in everything. Yep.
He was on Step by Step. He did the voice of Max in a Goofy movie.
He was one of DJ's boyfriends on Full House. If I remember correctly, there was one point in time, and he told the story, where he was on every show that was on ABC's TGIF lineup on the same night. Like he had a role on every one of them all at the same time. But yeah, he was all over the place in the 90s. And if I remember correctly, he's one of the guys who really got Will Friedle into doing voice acting, because
I would totally
he was good at it, and they're good friends. So yeah, it's just he doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, for that. Everybody talks about how much they love Binks, and I'm like, but it's Jason Marsden. He's the one who puts all the life into that character. If I remember correctly, I read that they had 8. I think they used 8 cats, and the only reason they kept using different cats is because all of them did different things well, and they needed that cat to do a bunch of different things. So it's like, this cat really likes jumping on people. All right, that's the one that's doing all the jumping. This one likes cuddling. That's the one that's cuddling with Thora Birch that's going to get carried around.
That's the cuddle cat.
This one hisses at people, or like you can make it hiss easily. All right, that's the hissing cat. Bring it in for that part. Which I think is pretty great. But I mean, for me,
they blended it real well, because I couldn't tell the difference.
What's a black cat?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, for me, it's inextricably tied to Halloween. It's good old fashioned family fun, and by that I mean old fashioned in the sense that you can talk about smoking and there's some swearing in there.
And it was still a kids' film. Yeah.
And they use the word virgin a lot, which I didn't even know what that was when I was that young.
That's because you
had
were
no idea what was going on there.
Dork.
Oh, you're right. I was 9.
I remember being really sad at Binks dying. And again, talking about Thora Birch, her crying scene over Binks dying, was legitimately, even to this day, I still tear up. Yeah. She was so good at that. I'm so critical personally, and I think a lot of us are, of child actors in films, because a bad child actor can break a film, but at the same time, you can't really blame them because they're a child. A perfect example for me is The Babadook. I really like The Babadook film. It's one of my favorite horror films.
Yeah,
but you want to drop kick that child
the
out
child
the window.
Is so obnoxious that he almost ruins the film. But again, he's a child. Star Wars. Go back to Jake Lloyd as Anakin in Phantom Menace. He's horrible, but he's a kid. Yes. What do you want? What do you want from a kid?
There's some parts that are worse than others, but
yeah, because again, in this movie, Thora Birch knocks it out of the park. I could think of a handful of children actors that are fantastic. Chloe Moretz Grace, Dakota Fanning.
It probably also comes down to whether or not the director knows how to help to get what they need out of them.
Yep.
Yes.
Child acting is a whole thing, and not to keep drawing this back to again Pod Meets World, but they talk about this a lot because again most of them were child actors to that degree,
they grew up on the set literally.
Something they have talked about often, because again, I don't have any frame of reference. Obviously, I wasn't a child actor. Something they talked about often, though, is that the parents make a big difference there too. As 2 of the 3 of them have grown up then to direct their own things and often work with kids. Danielle Fishel does a lot of directing for Disney Channel now for their original series. They have said outright, the parent that comes in with the child, that's going to make or break whether or not the kid is going to be able to. The energy you get from the parent, that's what you're going to get from the kid. And you can tell right then, is this going to be a problem? Is this going to work? You'll know as soon as you're talking to those parents.
Yeah. Yeah. And we haven't really even mentioned the witches themselves, because I know we said that they're the big part of it. And there's a scene in the film, and I'm trying to remember who it is. I keep coming up with the name Frank Marshall. I don't think it's Frank Marshall. Gary Marshall. Thank you.
It's him. Well, so it's Gary Marshall and it's Penny Marshall. Both, who of course are brother and sister.
Yeah.
But they play husband and wife in the movie.
Husband and wife.
And I think it's probably, to me, it's the funniest part of the movie where they think he is the real Satan, and he goes along with it because they're cute women and he likes the attention
and they're paying attention.
Yeah,
right. But he's right there with his wife, and then she kicks him out with the dog.
Master is married to Medusa.
Yes.
See the snakes in her hair. No, that's what Lindsay and I were referencing at the beginning. When they're leaving, she got the chocolate bar in the finger of a man named Clark. Oh, it's candy. Why would Master give us candy? Because he's not our master.
I smell children, but I don't see children. Also, I am an idiot. I didn't realize, again, even with there being 3 of them, that they're still doing the whole witch archetype of having the crone, the mother, and the maiden, because I'm a dumbass.
So I'm guessing
the whole thing is there.
The mother is Bette Midler, the crone is Kathy Najimy.
No, the crone is Bette Midler, the nurturing one is the mother, which should be Kathy's, and then Sarah's the maiden.
Yeah, because I'm gonna, just for the sake of this show, I'm gonna look her up in this film again, so I can see.
Because the crone is always the leader of the witch witch trio.
Yep. They fit the whole thing perfectly.
Oh yeah, there she is. Yep. That's the stuff. Okay.
Calming circle.
I've never been a fan of witch movies. I can't recall a single movie about a witch that I truly love.
What about The Witch?
Well, I was going to say, this is probably the closest one to it other than The Witch.
I mean, witches always terrified me, so I definitely would not want that film.
Witches have never scared me.
No, I mean, The Witches is a fucking terrifying film.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one where they're turning the kids into mice.
Mice, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that one is terrifying.
That's messed up.
As far
now,
as that goes.
Is that Angelica Houston?
It is. The original. And then the remake
she does
was...
a fabulous job in the role, but it was terrifying.
The remake,
is Anne Hathaway, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, and I don't remember it. I know I watched it, but it didn't leave the same mark as that other one did
Yeah.
as I was a kid. So.
Well, it's just like the sequel to this movie. Like, we definitely watched it last year, and I remember watching it.
I watched it.
I barely remember a thing about it.
I was entertained. It was a little cringe because it was super hokey, but I still enjoyed it.
I remember
it was fine.
most of it. I remember parts of it. I really don't remember it at all.
I remember like them as little kids and like the flashbacks and stuff that way. And
Why'd you do the dentist bit about the going down on the trampoline? And it was amazing. It was pretty good. It wasn't all that great. But
Well, okay, so you take a movie that I vaguely liked, and then you asked me to watch a sequel, which was completely unnecessary. Not only unnecessary,
for nostalgia,
but didn't make a lot of sense. They killed them off. All right, well, let's get to that in a second. Let's go to that now. We'll talk about the epilogues part of Extras and Epilogues. But before we do, as we do on every movie, we describe zero of the plot, basically, other than there are witches and then there's some kids. If you haven't seen the film and you're wondering, okay, you blabbering, idiots, what's the movie about? Three witches are trying to, I think, achieve immortality or something.
Were burned. No, they were hung. But when they were hung, they made a curse that if a virgin lights this candle on Halloween night, they will be brought back for one night, and if they can devour the essences of children, they will continue to live on. If not, they're done.
It's pretty dark shit for a Disney movie. I mean, honestly, it
was also the early 90s, though, and so they were a little more open to some of the stuff that they don't do now.
Murder a little girl in the first 15
they kill a little
minutes.
girl. Yeah.
Yeah. And then drag a blanket over her so that no one notices when they come. And then they get hanged. So that's like a body count of 4 in the first half an hour.
I don't know.
And you can see their feet dangle when they do that.
I don't understand why they decided to make such a specific spell. I would have just been like, hey, the curse is if anyone lights a candle on Halloween, then we're coming back. They had to get super specific with it.
So they didn't have a choice. It was in that book. In her book, the Necronomicon,
with
the eyeball in
asshole,
it, it's the only thing keeping them coming back, man.
And they keep coming back, despite the fact that they're destroyed. All right, let's give our review. So, the way the rating systems works on Extras and Epilogues, you got 2 thumbs up, 1 thumb up, 1 thumb up, 1 thumb down, 1 down, 2 down. Is that correct, Hunter?
Yep.
Did I get that right this time?
That's your 5 stars, basically, just with thumbs instead.
Of course, 2 thumbs up means the greatest movie of all time, a la Ghostbusters, and 2 thumbs down is a terrible movie, a la Dog Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers.
I love that we have that frame of reference.
And the fact that those episodes are back to back just cracks me up.
Although, to be fair, did we give Dog Soldiers 2 thumbs down? I don't know if I did.
I think we gave it 1.
I think we gave it 1 because it was just like a look.
When I was listening to your recording of it, and I'm pretty sure I fell asleep partway through because I was dying, so I don't remember what you rated.
At least one of us might have given it just all the way good.
I think we all agreed that there are some good elements to Dog Soldiers, but rewatching it was very poorly executed, low budget.
So bad.
It was,
so bad.
Anyway, when it comes to Hocus Pocus, let's start it up. I'll take the first run on this. I'm going to give this movie 1 thumb up. I do like it.
Yeah.
I'm close to giving it 1 up, 1 down, just because it was never my cup of tea. But good performances, dark story for a Disney movie. It's a fun movie. Yeah. I mean, that's the big thing about this. This is the perfect Halloween. I almost said Hollywood movie. This is the perfect Halloween movie. And Sarah Jessica Parker is the cutest woman in the history of life in this film. Let's go to Hunter for his review.
I'm also going to give it 1 thumb up, and for pretty much a lot of the same reasons there. Again, a lot of this is straight up nostalgia factor for me. But it's that thing. This is one of my favorite times of year. I love this season. I love Halloween in general. And so this is part of the process. You watch Ghostbusters. I actually just look at our lineup for this month, because that's pretty much what I do. We watch Ghostbusters. We watch Beetlejuice. You watch Hocus Pocus. You have to get those things in there. And tonight was the night where it's just sort of Ghostbusters is kind of my go-to. This is actually Sarah's go-to. I think it's probably safe to say that this and The Nightmare Before Christmas are her 2 favorite Halloween movies. Again, it's got great performances. It just keeps moving. I mean, it is the epitome of, even if you call it a Disney Channel movie from that era, that's kind of its own thing, right? Like, it's got its own little level of prestige. There are people who remember that as their level of nostalgia, and I think it's just worth it. It's just worth making that its own, category. So yeah, single thumb up. It's not the greatest thing I've ever seen, obviously, but it's nowhere near, just average for me. It comes in right in the middle there.
Fair enough. Lindsay, let's go to you.
I am also one thumb up. I love this movie. I really do. But it's not one that I'm just going to grab off the shelf any time of year. And obviously, we're already over a week into October, and I haven't watched it yet again this season. I'm going to. I just haven't yet.
Yeah.
Absolutely should. If nothing else, but for Sarah Jessica Parker. I put a picture of her in the Text Only for Babies where she's about to be hung. And even about to be hung, she just looks adorable. I can't deny my love for Sarah Jessica Parker in this movie. That's no hyperbole. That's not me joking around. I really love Sarah Jessica Parker in this movie.
I feel like if any picture is going to replace,
some of the best lines in this film.
If anybody's going to replace Freddy Freaker as your profile picture for the month of October, it might be this.
Well, I wish that were true, Hunter, but unfortunately, due to the fact that the Freak Phone is the official sponsor for Podzilla 1985 in the month of October.
Yeah.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to epilogues, make sure you call the Freak Phone. That's 1-900-490-FREAK. Talk to Freddy Freaker live. One lucky listener, one lucky caller will be allowed to speak to Freddy Freaker live on the phone. That's 1-900-490-FREAK. How much is that? I keep forgetting how much is that.
If you haven't gotten to do it yet, just keep calling. You will get through eventually.
Well, how much is
$2 a call?
$2 a call. That's right.
$2 a call.
Lindsay is coughing her ass off. She is such a fan of Freddy Freaker. It's ridiculous. Freddy Freaker, the official sponsor of Podzilla 1985 in October. So, this is the epilogues part of Extras and Epilogues where we talk about what happens after the credits. This one's a little bit easy, of course, because they did release a Hocus Pocus 2 for some reason. I do remember they said why. Money. Because they thought they could cash in on the nostalgia of Hocus Pocus.
True Disney style.
We will, I promise you here, we will never cover Hocus Pocus 2 on the show. I can almost make that a guaranteed. So, with that said, I did not care for Hocus Pocus 2. I thought it was fine.
It was okay.
Yeah, it was the stereotypical. It's okay. I love Sam Richardson.
I have
and I love Doug Jones.
Desire to watch it again. In all honesty,
it is as soulless of a cash in as you can get, but it did click a couple of the nostalgia boxes, so I won't go too hard on it. But
for me, I think this is a good comparison for people like us who will get this. The first movie is a solid workhorse of a wrestling match, right? It's got a little bit of everything. It does things well while not being the greatest match of all time. The second movie is a spot fest. Because it's just a connection.
It's a rehash.
It's just a collection of scenes.
Yeah.
It's a collection of scenes of the witches doing stuff. And that's really the only important thing. The other characters, we don't need to know about them. We don't need to care about them. The witches are back. They're doing stuff. In fact, that's what's on the poster.
Right.
Like, they're back. Again.
They're back. Yeah.
Cool. We don't really care what else is happening.
Yeah.
I don't need to.
Why are they back?
Doesn't matter. They're back and they're doing stuff.
No,
and it's 25 years later.
I'm asking Lindsay specifically, why are they back?
I don't remember. I thought they were going to base it more on the book that they had put out. I thought.
Oh, and then they also made them kind of the good guys in the end.
They redeemed themselves. They love their sisters so much. They're all, and I remember thinking to myself, like, how are they going to wrap this up? Like, how do you make them good guys? And in the very end, they turned, and it was kind of dumb. I guess it was sweet, but pointless, and I guess it justifies murdering children in the first movie because they love their sisters so much. I don't know, man. I also was confused as to why they came back looking 25 years older. I don't think they really explained that one.
Shit, the economy is in shambles.
The witch economy is in shambles. So, Lindsay, since Hunter and I can't remember for the life of us anything about part 2, kind of give us a rundown, if you can remember, on what part 2 was.
All I really remember is they did some flashbacks of them being like kids and some other spitefulness.
And they met a witch, right? If I remember, that's coming back to me.
Character had, and like I some other like kid brought them back somehow, and I really don't remember. Right. I'm probably talking on my ass right now.
I'm looking it up now.
Then Sam Richardson was involved. He did a thing. He did that. So okay, Lindsay while you're looking that up, Lindsay referenced this book, and I was not aware of this until I started researching this for today. Do you have this book, Lindsay? The one that
I do not. I contemplated buying it, and then I didn't, because I don't really buy books anymore unless it's physical copies of Lore Olympus, which is fabulous.
So this is, for what it's worth, they've got the hardcover version through Walmart for $10 right now.
Yeah.
But it is, first of all, it's called Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel. So it sounds like a knockoff Harry Potter, but what they're trying to say there is that the book itself is both a retelling of the movie, so it's like a novelization of the original movie, and then like a sequel that goes along with it, but it's in the same book. Now, here's literally the entire synopsis for the sequel. 25 years later, Max and Allison's 17-year-old daughter, Poppy, finds herself face-to-face with the Sanderson sisters in all their sinister glory. When Halloween celebrations don't go quite as planned, it's a race against time as Poppy and her friends fight to save her family and all of Salem from the witch's latest vile scheme. Now, that's just the first movie, but with a different character.
Well, okay, I looked up part 2. Here's part 2. In 2022, 29 years after the Sanderson sisters were resurrected by the Black Flame Candle, Salem teenagers Becca and Izzy prepare to celebrate both Halloween and Becca's Sweet 16. But
that's what it was.
But they turned down a party invitation from their estranged friend Cassie.
Because they go out in the woods to be hippies and Wiccans.
Becca and Izzy visit a magic shop, formerly the Sandersons' cottage, run by Gilbert, who I believe was played by Sam Richardson, who gives Becca a candle for their annual birthday ritual. Girls light the candle and discover that it is another black flame candle. Another one! As there's a full moon and the girls are both virgins, the candle resurrects the Sanderson sisters once again, who also look like they're 30 years older.
And they trick them into thinking that they themselves are witches so that they don't just, like, immediately, like, try to eat them.
And in the end of, apparently there's a price to pay for becoming all powerful, and it's that you have to give up the thing you love most, which turns out to be Winifred's sisters. They both disappear. They don't really say to where, they just disappear. And I'm quoting Wikipedia on here. Winifred grows despondent and begs the teenagers to use their newfound powers to save her sisters. While they cannot save them, Becca, Cassie, and Izzy join together in a coven and cast a reuniting spell, so Winifred happily fades away to be reunited with her sisters. Where? Hell? Heaven?
The netherworld. I mean, probably hell. I'm pretty sure that's where witches go when they're done, because they go to serve their master.
For what it's worth, Max in the original at one point in time tells Winifred to go to hell, and she says, or no, Billy tells her that, and she says she's already been there. She found it quite nice. Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe they are happy down there then. I mean, they did refer to Satan.
That's where they are.
They referred to Satan as master, and they were very happy to see him. So maybe they are happy in hell. Maybe hell's not that bad, kids. If there's a lesson to take from this, give up church, give up the gospel, and embrace the darkness.
And it is said that so Winifred says that it's explained that she got the book from the devil himself. So he's given her gifts. Like you said, they're happy to see him. They call him master. She says it's quite nice down there. If her sisters were sent away there, even though she had to give up the things she loved the most, that seems like a pretty good trade-off. Like, they get to go where they want to be, and you get to have all this stuff, but now she gets to go be with them too, I guess.
Well, because she loved her sisters more than she loved power. You understand?
Except she kind of hates her sisters because she constantly says as much in the first movie.
Well,
in fact, one of the best lines we didn't even talk about was when she says, "Why was I cursed with such idiot sisters?" And Sarah Jessica Parker's response is, "Just lucky, I guess." I mean,
I love her in that movie. Oh my god!
You'll love this because I know we're kind of wrapping this up. Yet another.
We still got 15 minutes, baby.
Well, we don't have to
ramble.
There was so much trivia that I couldn't put it all in there, but one of the highly rated ones that I had not heard until I went and actually read an interview with her. So a lot of times when you have to do like wire work or get any kind of flying in a movie, it's not comfortable, right? People are often saying that those harnesses...
just wanted to stay in the harness the whole time. Like, she just wanted to fly.
Hers was so comfortable, and she liked being up there so much that she started finding spots on her costume to stash a copy of the New York Times. And so in between takes, she would bust out the paper and just read up there, just hanging up on the wire.
I love this one, and this one is baffling to me. You put this in the trivia. After the sisters are first defeated, the children celebrate amongst several other famous sets. Houses visible on the street include Thor Birch's character's home from American Beauty. That one blows my mind.
So that would, of course, be later. American Beauty comes out in
Yeah.
99, which is 6 years later. But
Which
yeah,
is
that
also-
house is part of that area.
Highly controversial Thora Birch role in that
Yes.
one. We won't say why.
Yes.
The Griswold house from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And
And
Darren...
it's so obvious, because if you've
I never
seen that
noticed
movie
the
as many
Bewitched
times-
house in there.
The original Bewitched house from the 60s is in there. The Griswold one in particular, if I remember correctly, the Bewitched one goes really fast, but the Griswold one is so obvious. If you've watched Christmas Vacation as much as I have, which is literally every year for 20
Every
something
Halloween?
years of my life, of course, it doesn't have the Christmas lights, but you know exactly what you're looking at. It's the same tree, the same bush, all the same stuff in the front yard. But it's the last
Never
one there that's
watched it.
super obvious. You didn't quite
Yeah.
get that.
The fountain behind them while they dance is the same one from the Friends opening credit, which is also pretty crazy to think that they had all that in there. So
Yep.
Hocus Pocus really setting some standards here. Now, we didn't actually do the epilogues thing. We just made fun of part 2.
That's fine.
Well, is it where we,
The real epilogues is what should happen. What do you
exactly.
think
That's what
should
I say.
happen to these
Now,
characters?
for me
Well, I
personally,
mean, they all died, technically.
they all
so,
died the first
like,
time. It don't matter. Bring
That's
them back
what I meant.
again.
But
So-
they didn't recast the spell. They didn't do the curse. They just turned to stone.
In the
Well,
first
one of them turned to stone, and they
One
all
turned
three
to stone,
exploded.
the other's like exploded into glitter.
And then after she turned into stone, she exploded. Sarah had explained this to me, by the way. I didn't understand why that happened at all. I had never thought about it. So the sun causes them to blow up into
The hollowed
sparks or
ground
whatever.
turned her to stone.
It's the hallowed ground, yeah, because
Yeah.
she lands on the hallowed ground, she turns to stone, and then she blows up when the sun shoots.
But they came back again. So what that means is if
Yes.
you have a supply of black flame candles, you can bring these bitches
and
back.
virgins.
And virgins. Well, good luck finding that in this day and
Oh.
age. Kids are banging each
Shannon.
other and doing meth.
Shannon, you'll like this. I didn't catch this until this time watching it. They specifically, I think it's Allison, references that the Allison or Max one, because they're reading the plaque on it. The black flame candle is not just a random thing. It's made from the fat of a hanged man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So hang some more fat guys and bring out some candles and we can have us Hocus Pocus 3. Which
Need a virgin.
which at this point, if I were, doing Hocus Pocus 3, you can't just do the Sanderson sisters again. So what you would have to do is they would have kids. They would have long lost daughters that no one knew about that are coming back to try to bring them back or something. And then the three of them do come back at the very end as like a little, oh, hey, it's us. Remember us? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The only way you could do Hocus Pocus 3, in my opinion, is do away with Kathy and Jimmy and Bette Midler and just give the whole thing to Sarah Jessica Parker. In fact, reunite the cast
It's
of
their summer vacation in hell.
reunite the cast of Sex and the City as the witches. So Sarah Jessica Parker, Kim Cattrall, and the other two, because I don't remember their names. Well, not Kim Cattrall, because she didn't come back for the show. She was like, I guess she was ostracized. She had a falling out with them. So it's Sarah Jessica Parker and the other two. Call it Witch in the City. I don't know. I'm not good at naming things. That's the third movie, and it's just them living their life, falling in love.
I can't
Sarah
believe you haven't
Sanderson has a column in the paper where she talks about her love life. It's a good movie. It won't be on Disney Plus. It'll be on HBO Max. There is hardcore nudity. Hunter, go ahead.
So this is a Disney movie, right? Disney's
Not
current
mine.
go-to for everything television is Marvel and Star Wars.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So you know how
God,
this
are we
has
gonna
to
get
go.
the Hocus Pocus universe, and it's
The
gonna
Hocus
be,
Pocus universe.
Oh.
So the next time,
or
so first of all,
they get summoned by the Scarlet Witch.
So first of all, you've already had the first two. The first time they were straight up villains. The second time, toward the end, they get the redemption story, which means in the third one, they're the protagonists.
They're the good guys.
baby.
Yeah.
We want them on the poster and in the trailer anyway. They're the only ones that people are coming to see. So
Yeah.
in the third one, they are the protagonists. So you're going to have to introduce something more supernatural and more evil than them that they can only defeat. They're the only ones who can do it.
And it has to be an older actress from that kind of same era. So my best picks would be like
Cloris Leachman.
Sandra Bullock, maybe.
Cloris Leachman, by the way, someone who they sought out for Winifred originally before they went with Bette Midler.
I think Bette Midler was a good choice.
She was the correct choice.
I also like the collaboration between Bette Midler and Krusty the Clown. They had a horse they called Crudler.
Crudler. So yeah, no, they bring them back as not as the like full on protagonist, because you still got to have kids who did a dumb thing, and that's why they're back. But this time they bring them back intentionally because they're the only ones that can combat whatever the new evil is, and so they're basically Deadpool, right? They're anti-heroes. They're not good people technically, but they're used for good purposes. And then eventually you get all the spinoffs. You get for Shannon's sake, you get the Sarah Jessica Parker show. You get Bette Midler doing a 6-part miniseries that's just about Winifred. It's
Winifred becoming a Scarlet,
it's the Winifred prequel,
and she's becoming a star. And then Mary has her own cooking show on HGTV.
And that would be, they would do shorts. There would be like little 15-minute shorts that she would do like cooking stuff.
Yeah, but the crazy part though is the ending when they fight the big bad, and they're not strong enough to fight them on their own. So Bette Midler, she looks at the enemy, which I'm assuming at this point is a giant army of demon hellspawn, and she goes, "Witches, assemble!" And then portals start opening, and there's the Scarlet Witch. There is the witch
Samantha from
Beavis and Butthead, and Leave It to Beaver.
It's Sabrina.
All the different characters are pouring through the portals.
I can't believe that you didn't say that she looks at him and goes, "It's Pocus time." Come on, man.
Oh my.
When they remake these movies, because obviously they can't do it off the originals, you got to remake them.
Of course,
I want the sequel to be called "Too Hocus to Pocus."
No.
Well, Hunter, no. What they're going to do is they're going to do an all-male reboot, and it's going to.
Oh God! Starring Charles Rocket. No, well,
I'm really looking forward to Chris Hemsworth.
Well, if it's Disney, for some reason they'll have Josh Gad in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing I ever liked Josh Gad in.
Frozen?
I've only seen 2 things that he's been in, and of the 2.
No, I know the answer to this. Although I can't think of the name of the movie, but it's the one where Lupita Nyong'o is the
yes.
Yeah, she's the school teacher at the zombie thing. What's that
you
called?
remember that one, Lindsay?
Off the top of my head, no.
No.
What's that movie called?
I mean, do you remember the movie we're talking about? It was Little Monsters.
Little Monsters.
You remember, because they're on the field trip. It's the guy who's like a loser, and he goes with his nephew or something on this field trip, basically. And it's Lupita Nyong'o, and she's the teacher, and she's leading the kids to
yes, no, that movie was awesome.
Yeah.
And Josh Gad plays the asshole entertainer.
Huge piece of shit.
Yes.
Oh fuck.
Yes. He's the entertainer. He's like, fuck all of you. Yeah, no, that was great.
Also,
that movie was great.
Also, if you're keeping record out there, yes, Lupita Nyong'o, crush that crush button. Anyway, she was so good in that movie. That's a good movie.
Really
that was a fantastic movie. Anyway, we're talking about Hocus Pocus. Lindsay, what would you like to see as Hocus Pocus 3? And then we're going to wrap this thing up.
Honestly, at this point, I think they need to go animated. And then just bring them in to do the voices.
Oh, I like that.
What is wrong with you?
Because then you could still have it be them in the form that you want them to be in. And again, I think they just don't learn. And they just want to come back and be eternally young and do their witchy thing.
Yeah, why not just rehash the same plot over and over again? It's a fucking Disney film.
I mean, you just said it yourself. It's a fucking Disney film. And
I wasn't being sarcastic.
Disney, I can 100% agree with that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't being sarcastic. And then what they'll do is they'll take the third one, and in a couple years they'll put it in the Disney vault, and then you have to wait 40 years for it to come back out.
They don't really put stuff back in the vault anymore, though, because like.
Oh yeah. Well, when they found
unless it's racist, they've taken it all back out.
When they found Disney's head in there, they were like,
because literally the only animated things they don't have on Disney Plus right now, for some reason, is one of the compilation films. I think it's Melody Time is the one it's either Melody Time or Make Mine Music is the only one not on there, and then obviously Songs of the South they haven't put anywhere because of yay racism.
Justice for Briar Rabbit. Bring back Songs of the South.
I mean, if nothing else, just bring out the animated parts and leave the rest of it away. Don't
play. Don't play
Splash
the.
Mountain is no longer themed to any of that.
I
changed it to Princess and the
Tiana's
Frog.
Bayou Adventure now.
My only request
is in the process of becoming.
If you bring back Songs of the South, Disney, listen to me. If you bring back songs,
They
of the
won't.
South,
They won't.
Well,
They won't.
They won't
if
ever.
you do,
No.
just
They
don't
won't.
make it the version that Disney showed at private parties. Much worse.
No.
Much worse. Much worse. All right.
Oh, that's terrible.
We're going to call it there real quick. Hunter, next week, what do we have on tap for extras and extras and epilepsies? What do we got?
Well, ironically enough, in the same week that that Saturday, not this Saturday, but that Saturday, we'll be heading up to the Fox Theater to see the stage performance that some of you have already seen.
I mean,
Next Wednesday, we are bringing on for the first time on Extras and Epilogues one Shelby Kimball to discuss,
You have
of course.
checked your work schedule, right?
No, we don't do these things in advance. We tell you the day of, and then you figure it out.
also, you're skipping this Friday.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I got my days off there. So this, I'm glad you mentioned that. So, okay, quickly to finish that out, next week, the ghost host with the most is Beetlejuice with Shelby. But this week is the very first time for Extras and Epilogues since we started this show back
New
this
night.
summer
Yeah.
that we're on a new night, and we're calling it the double feature. So you got Hocus Pocus this week, but this Friday, because it's a very specific day of the week,
Yeah.
it is Friday the 13th. And because Tanner, the man himself, Tanner Calvert, loves
Big
his
idiot.
Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees really wanted to talk about Friday the 13th Part 4. It's called the final chapter, I think, if I read it correctly when I looked at it today.
Lies.
Well, okay.
Yes.
Well. To be fair, let me break that down for you real quick, just to flex my knowledge on Tanner. So, Friday the 13th, Part 1 is about his mother. It's Jason Voorhees' mother killing these kids because of what happened to her son, Jason, Pamela Voorhees. The second one is Jason. It's Jason that was thought to be long dead, but he's actually a crazy killer, and he kills people. The third one, same thing. The fourth one, same thing. The reason it's called the final chapter is because spoiler alert, but they kill Jason off in this. Legitimately, he dies in this movie. The fifth one is the one where they bring back a different person who's not Jason, and people were pissed off about that. So in the sixth one, they resurrect him, and that's when he becomes a zombie. And that's what he's been ever since then. So he actually does start as a human being and then turns into a zombie. And I'll get to take Tanner to task this Friday because he loves the hockey mask. I hate the hockey mask. Have you ever seen Jason Voorhees in Part 2?
With the cloth sack,
The potato sack.
Is that the one?
To me, that is a lot scarier. But I am in the minority apparently.
So importantly too, Tanner also picked Part 4. He picked the final chapter because he says that it's the best one, the one that we really got to talk about. Everything I've read about it does not trend in that direction. Now, importantly, here's where I get to be the difference maker. I've never seen this movie. Or if I have, I do not remember it because I've only seen some Friday the 13th stuff. I'm obviously well aware of who and what Jason is and what he does, but what of those movies I've seen, I do not remember. Brett Wiley ran me through a crash course of them in college. That was 20 years ago.
So the first Friday the 13th is arguably the best one because it has Kevin Bacon, it has Pamela Voorhees. It's the most sensical one. The ones past that are just like, it's for Friday the 13th fans. The reason I think you picked number 4 is because number 4 introduces Tommy Jarvis, and Tommy Jarvis is as close as Friday the 13th has to a protagonist to go against. Yeah. No, Lindsay. No. So that's this Friday.
So, this Friday, the man himself, Tanner Calvert, is Friday the 13th. We're talking about Friday the 13th, the final chapter. That's the second part of our double feature. And then, next week we'll have Shelby in to discuss Beetlejuice. And then, because we shuffled our schedule around, Shannon, you now get the last Wednesday of October.
Yes.
What are we doing?
We're going over quite possibly the greatest horror film of all time, other than The Thing. The Thing is a sci-fi horror. This is more of a standard horror. Directed by John Landis. It is, I always want to say Max Landis because of that fucker.
It's his son.
It is. Directed by John Landis. It is the best werewolf movie of all time, hands down, An American Werewolf in London. It's the picture I have on my Facebook right now. I put it up every year as my cover photo. The scariest werewolf. It's a comedy that's legitimately funny. It's legitimately scary. It's everything. So that is going to be, and this is before John Landis did Twilight Zone the movie and pretty much ruined his career by killing kids. So...
We haven't talked about a guest for that show either. So far, it's just me and you.
I think it's just me and you. It might just be me.
It might
honestly.
just be me and you.
Yeah.
Well, no. So, importantly, I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but I have seen it, and I've seen it several times. I do want to watch it again and have like a full in-depth discussion about
maybe
it. So.
you know what? I'm gonna try to get Bob.
Oh,
what a gift that would be for us! Yeah.
That is, to use some Candela terminology, that's a high-stakes role.
Yeah, to get the Jack McNeil on the show to talk about An American Werewolf in London. I'm going to try it.
That'd be awesome.
We'll see how it goes. First
awesome.
time ever on Podzilla 1985.
You tell him his face doesn't have to be on the video for this end.
It's an audio podcast.
Yours hasn't been all night.
No, I forgot. Anyway, did I ever tell you? So, speaking of Beetlejuice, Lindsey and Shelby and Jesse saw the stage play, last year, I think?
Yeah, it was last October.
Yeah.
Was it? Okay, yeah.
I tried.
It was November-ish. It was November.
I tried.
It's whenever the Nationals tour started, because we got to go opening night of the National tour because it was in Paducah. And I didn't realize it was opening night of the National tour. I just thought it was a stop. I didn't realize it was literally, we're doing one show and then the tour starts. So...
Okay, I've now muted Lindsey from the show, and let me explain why. Because I want to just get this fucking joke out. I had a whole joke about me and Lauren Boebert in the theater, and Lindsey won't let me get it out because she talks too much. I'm now unmuting her. Welcome back to the show.
It's such a good show. If you have the opportunity to get tickets, go get it.
Lauren Boebert is a smoke show.
She's a bitch.
Beetlejuice, the stage show is in the Fox Theater for the next 2 weeks. I think we're going on the last weekend. It's there. So
all right,
it's so good.
Yeah.
All right, well, we stalled to an hour. Congratulations, everybody. We did it. That's it for us tonight.
Mom is the best song,
and she's still. That's the end of the show. We'll be back tomorrow with an all new After Dark. No, what's it called?
Yes. No, you're right. Well, it's called Are You Afraid of PZ85 After Dark?
Unless Tanner can get his ass out of, I don't know, Pornland, wherever he goes, and watch or take part in the episode. We don't have a subject yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are we doing?
I'll figure that out. Yeah, I picked it last week and it was fantastic. Probably the best one we've ever done. A lot of people are saying that.
Yes.
Anyway, that's it for us tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with all new episodes. Until then, the balcony is closed. Thank you from myself, Hunter, and Lindsey. And Lindsey, since you are the Hocus to my Pocus, go ahead and take us out.
Speed bump.